The metal doors of the warship slid open with a slow, heavy sound, like a giant exhaling. Cold blue light flooded the corridor, and two armored guards stepped inside, pushing a human prisoner between them. The prisoner stumbled but kept his balance, lifting his head with quiet determination. His name was Elias Ward, a young human explorer who once dreamed of discovering peaceful worlds, not being dragged through the heart of an alien empire. His clothes were torn, his face carried dust and dried blood, but his eyes still burned with a strange courage. He looked tired, yet unbroken. Even with his hands locked in glowing energy cuffs, he walked as if the weight of the chains could not bend his spirit. The guards didn't like that. Humans were supposed to be afraid. Humans were supposed to bow. But Elias didn't bow. They dragged him forward into a tall chamber filled with floating crystals and shimmering banners. The air smelled like burning metal and sweet perfumes. Above the platform, sitting on a throne carved from a single block of glowing crystal, was Princess, daughter of the Empress and heir to the Empire. Her skin shimmered like blue glass touched by moonlight. Her hair, long and silver, fell around her shoulders like a cascade of starlight. She had a calm expression, trained royal posture, and eyes that could freeze an entire army. But when Elias stepped into the chamber and lifted his head, something impossible happened. Froze. Her fingers tightened on the throne. The guards looked at each other in confusion. The princess never reacted this way. She never showed surprise. She never allowed emotion to break through her royal mask. Yet now she was staring at the human captive as if time itself had stopped moving. Elias didn't understand at first. He had never seen her before, at least that was what he thought. To him, she was just another alien royal who would judge him and possibly end his life. But still, he noticed something strange in her gaze. It wasn't hatred. It wasn't curiosity. It was something deep, something painful, something familiar. The moment stretched in silence. Felt her heart pounding too fast, too loud. She tried to control her breathing, tried to hold her emotion inside. But she couldn't, not this time. Because she knew him. She knew the shape of his jaw, the small scar above his eyebrow, the way his eyes held stubborn fire even when he was scared. She had seen those eyes before, many years ago, on a tiny blue planet far from her empire. Back then, she was just a lonely girl trapped in diplomatic halls. He was just a curious human boy who had wandered away from the official meeting rooms. They had met in secret gardens, running between tall alien flowers, sharing stories of their different worlds. She remembered how he once protected her from a malfunctioning drone, standing in front of her with shaking hands but brave eyes. She remembered his laugh. She remembered his kindness. She remembered how he once said, "I'll be your friend even if our worlds don't agree." And then one day he was gone. An accident, an explosion between human and alien diplomats had ended all peace talks. Was told he died in the chaos. She cried for days in her silent royal room. But now here he stood, alive, older, stronger, but undeniably him. Her lost friend. Her only friend. She whispered without thinking, her voice barely audible. No, it cannot be. Elias heard the softness and felt a strange pull in his memory. Something deep in his mind flickered, like a candle trying to relight. Before he could speak, raised her hand. Leave us. Her voice carried authority so sharp that the guards obeyed instantly. They pushed Elias forward, bowed, and stepped out. The doors closed behind them, sealing the room in thick silence. Elias stared at her, confused, alert, trying to understand this strange shift. Stood slowly from her throne. Her legs felt weak. Her throat tightened. She wanted to speak his name, but fear and shock tangled her words. She took one step down from the platform. Then another. The glowing crystal around her neck swung gently, catching Elias' attention. He squinted. That crystal, it was familiar. A shape he had once held in his hand. A shape he had given to a blue-skinned girl who had cried because she felt alone. Saw his eyes widen, and she knew he remembered. Her voice broke as she whispered, Elias. He felt his breath stop. Lyra, he whispered back. And in that single moment, the cold alien chamber became warm again, filled with memories, hope, and the impossible return of a lost bond neither of them had ever truly forgotten, stood frozen halfway down the steps of her throne, staring at Elias as if she were seeing a ghost. Her heart was pounding so loudly she could hear it echo inside her chest. The air around them felt heavy, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Elias didn't move at first. He was still confused, still unsure what was happening. Only moments ago, he thought he was standing in front of a ruler who might condemn him. But now, the same ruler looked like someone who had waited years for him to return. The soft blue glow from the floating crystals lit his face, revealing tears gathering in her eyes. Royalty never cried. They were raised to be calm, cold, and emotionless. But the emotion in her eyes was unmistakable: shock, relief, fear, and a deep, painful longing. "Lyra," Elias whispered again, testing her name on his lips. Closed her eyes for a moment, because hearing that name felt like someone had opened an old wound and healed it at the same time. When she opened them, her voice trembled softly. "Yes, it is me, Elias." He tried to step forward, but his energy cuffs glowed, forcing him to stay still. Frowned and moved closer while lifting her hand. With a gentle touch on the cuffs, a small pulse of psychic energy flowed from her fingers. The cuffs flickered and then vanished, leaving only faint warmth around his wrists. Elias rubbed his wrists in relief and stared at her with disbelief. You freed me." Nodded slowly. "Of course I did. I would never let you stand in chains before me." Silence followed her words, heavy, emotional silence. Elias looked around, processing the room, the throne, the alien architecture. Everything felt unreal, like he had fallen into a dream he didn't fully understand. "How long has it been?" he asked softly. Shoulders sagged and she let out a shaky breath. 10 years, 10 long years since the day everything fell apart. Elias felt his chest tighten. That accident, the explosion between human and alien diplomats, he remembered flashes of fire, chaos, screams. He remembered being separated from the little alien girl who had been his only friend in an otherwise frightening world. "I thought you died," Elias whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Shook her head slowly. "I was told you died. My mother, she told me humans could not survive that kind of damage. She said you were lost." Elias felt anger rise inside him, not at, but at the lies that had kept them apart. "I survived. A rescue team found me. But after that, Earth banned any more contact. They said the peace treaty was broken forever." Lowered her gaze, her voice barely above a whisper. "I cried for weeks. I searched for your name in every forbidden channel, but nothing, only silence." Her fingers touched the crystal around her neck. Elias recognized it instantly. It was the same crystal he had given her the day before the explosion, a small gift he bought with his pocket money, telling her it meant courage in human symbolism. "I kept this," she said, "even when I was told to forget you, even when it was forbidden." Elias felt his eyes sting, emotions building up he didn't know he still had. "I can't believe you remembered me." Took one more step closer, so close that he could see the tiny silver patterns in her eyes. "How could I forget the only friend I ever had? The boy who talked to me like I was not a princess, but simply a person." Elias inhaled sharply. He remembered how lonely she had been in that huge alien building, surrounded by guards, servants, and strict rules. She had never been allowed to laugh freely. But with him, she had run, played, explored, and dreamed. A flicker of guilt crossed her face. "And now you are here, as a captive." Her voice cracked with shame. Elias shook his head. "Not your fault, Lyra." Looked at him with pain in her eyes. "But I am part of the empire that captured you. My mother, she sees humans as a threat. She believes the war will come soon." Elias frowned. "War." Nodded. "Rumors, fear, misunderstanding. Everything is becoming worse. Humans are seen as enemies. And when they brought you to me, I thought fate was punishing me again." Elias sighed deeply. "But fate brought us together again after 10 years. Gazed into his eyes, voice trembling. "Elias, I don't know how you survived the galaxy's cruelty, but I cannot lose you again." The chamber was silent except for their breathing. Two childhood friends. Two people from different worlds. Reunited in the middle of a growing storm. Elias took a slow step toward her. What happens now, Lyra? Lifted her chin, strength returning to her voice. Now, she whispered, I will protect you, no matter what it costs. For a long moment, and Elias simply stood facing each other, letting the weight of 10 lost years settle between them. The soft hum of the floating crystals was the only sound in the chamber. It felt as if the entire galaxy had paused just to let them breathe in the truth. They were together again. But the moment couldn't last. Pulled herself back into reality. Her face changed from soft nostalgia to quiet worry. She walked toward a glowing control panel and touched it lightly. The room darkened, and a large hologram flickered to life in front of Elias. It showed a map of the galaxy sprinkled with war symbols, red lines, and flashing warnings. Elias stared at it, feeling a cold chill run down his spine. What is this?" he asked. His voice was calm but heavy. "This is what the galaxy looks like now, fear everywhere, rumors spreading, leaders preparing for battles nobody wants." She pointed at several flashing points. "And these are the places where humans and soldiers have clashed." Elias' eyes widened. "Clashed, that means?" "Yes," she whispered, "we are on the edge of war." Elias felt anger rising inside him. Why? Humans didn't want a war. Lowered her eyes. "My mother thinks humans are trying to take territory. She believes your people are hiding weapons and preparing an attack." Her voice trembled. "She sees every human as a danger, even you." Elias stepped closer, frustration clear on his face. "And what do you think, Lyra?" Looked up at him, her eyes shining with honesty and pain. "I think fear makes monsters out of people. My mother is afraid, your leaders are afraid, and fear is stronger than logic." She paused. "But I don't see a monster when I look at you. I see the same boy who once told me stories about Earth, who showed me how to make paper birds, who stood in front of a damaged drone to protect me." Elias felt something tighten in his chest. "And I still see the girl who held my hand when I was scared of alien halls, who showed me hidden gardens, who laughed with me even though she wasn't allowed to." Her lips trembled at the memory, but the hologram continued to flash warnings, reminding them that their past could not erase the present. Elias took a deep breath. "So what happens to me now? I'm your prisoner." Stepped forward quickly, shaking her head. "Never, you are my friend, my only real friend." Her voice softened. "I will not let anyone harm you." Elias looked at her with gratitude, but also fear. "But your people already captured me. If they know I'm here, won't they try again?" Sighed and moved toward him, lowering her voice. "That is why we must be careful, very careful." She walked past him and opened a long panel in the wall. Inside were small cubes, glowing crystals, a few simple devices. She pulled out a metallic cloth and draped it over a chair. It shimmered and turned transparent. "This is a cloaking fabric," she explained. "It hides anything it covers from palace scanners." She looked at him seriously. "You will need it." Elias' eyebrows furrowed. "Why? What are you planning?" Hesitated before answering, her voice softer and more emotional than before. "Elias, the moment I saw you, something inside me changed. I realized I could never let you be taken away again, not by my guards, not by the Empire, not even by my mother." Her voice trembled. "I lost you once, I cannot lose you twice." Elias felt the truth of her words like a warm weight on his heart. He stepped closer, studying her face carefully. "And I don't want to lose you either," he exhaled. "But if your mother is preparing for war, helping me might put you in danger." Smiled sadly. "I know, but danger is not new to me, Elias. I have lived my whole life inside a palace that feels like a cage. Now at least I have a reason to be brave." She turned back to the hologram. "Listen to me carefully. There is a secret path beneath the palace. I discovered it years ago. It leads to a hidden chamber the Empire forgot." She glanced at him. "If we go there, I can keep you safe while I figure out what to do next." Elias nodded slowly. "You're risking everything." "For you, yes." Her voice did not shake this time. "You saved me once when we were children. Now it is my turn." Elias felt warmth spread through his chest, pushing away the fear. He did not know what the future held. He did not know what dangers waited. but he knew one thing clearly. They were not enemies. They were not strangers. They were two souls pulled together again by fate, even in the middle of a galaxy preparing for war. Gently touched his wrist, the brief contact full of emotion. "Come," she whispered, "before the palace wakes." And for the first time since his capture, Elias felt a spark of hope. Led Elias through the shadows of the throne chamber, her steps silent despite the polished floors beneath her feet. The palace, grand and cold, was alive with faint mechanical hums and distant voices of guards patrolling the corridors. Every sound made Elias tense. Every corner seemed to hide danger. Yet by his side, he felt a strange mixture of fear and hope. Fear for what could happen if they were caught, and hope that he had finally found someone who would risk everything for him. She opened a small door hidden behind a tapestry, revealing a narrow spiral staircase. The metal steps glowed faintly, casting soft light on their faces. Elias took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "I never imagined a princess would help a human," he whispered. "Not unless you really cared." Didn't answer immediately. Her eyes were focused on the steps ahead, but her hands shook slightly. "I cared once," she finally said softly. "When we were children, you were the only person who treated me like a person, not a princess. You reminded me what freedom felt like. You reminded me what it felt like to be myself." Her voice faltered. "I will not let them take you from me again." Elias swallowed. He remembered those days, the gardens hidden behind embassy walls, the stolen afternoons where laughter was all they knew. "I remember you too," he said. "I never forgot you. Never." Smiled faintly, though sadness lingered. "Then you know why I cannot let this end badly." They descended the spiral staircase slowly, each step bringing them farther from the throne room and deeper into the underbelly of the palace. Paused at a heavy metal hatch embedded in the floor. She knelt and pressed her hand against a crystal sensor. The hatch slid open silently, revealing a dimly lit tunnel lined with old conduits and wires. Dust floated in the air. The tunnel smelled faintly of ozone and old metal. Elias' chest tightened. It reminded him of the secret places they used to explore as children. Somehow, that memory made him feel braver. "This tunnel, it leads to a chamber beneath the palace," whispered. "It was abandoned years ago. No one checks it. We can hide there while I plan our next move." Elias peered into the darkness. "How long have you known about this?" he asked, impressed and curious. "I discovered it the day after the diplomat's accident," she said quietly. "I thought maybe someday it would be useful. I never imagined I'd use it to save you." Elias' throat tightened. "You've kept this secret all these years for me." Nodded. "I knew one day our paths might cross again. I didn't know when. I only hoped." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Only the faint hum of the palace, echoing through the hidden tunnels, filled the space. Elias felt a warmth spread through him, not just from the reunion, but from the trust she placed in him, the courage she showed even now. They moved deeper into the tunnel. Sparks from loose wires lit the walls, casting shadows that danced like ghosts. Elias noticed the small details, scratched symbols, faded marks, the remnants of old machinery that no one had touched in decades. "It feels like we're stepping into history," he murmured. Glanced at him, her eyes soft. "Or maybe we're rewriting it," she said. Eventually, they reached a wide chamber carved into the bedrock beneath the palace. In the center sat a small shuttle, cloaked in shimmering fabric that made it almost invisible to any scanner. Touched it gently. "This is it. It can take us out of the atmosphere past the first patrols. After that, we will be free." Elias stepped closer, running his hand over the smooth surface of the shuttle. "It's beautiful," he said, "like something from a dream." Smiled faintly. "It is, and it will be our escape." Elias turned to her. "But what about your mother, your guards? What if they find us?" Took a deep breath, her shoulders straightening. "Then we fight, or we hide, whatever it takes, but I won't let anyone take you again, not now, not ever." He looked at her, feeling a mixture of awe and gratitude. "You risk everything for me," he said quietly. "You saved me once," she replied. "Now it's my turn." A faint alarm echoed somewhere in the distance, and his eyes hardened. "We don't have much time," she said. She gestured toward the shuttle. "We move now." Elias followed her, heart racing, adrenaline surging. He didn't know what awaited them outside, what dangers lurked in the galaxy beyond the palace walls, but he knew one thing clearly. With by his side, he had a chance to survive. And maybe, just maybe, they could build a future together, free from fear, free from the chains that had kept them apart for so long. As they stepped into the shuttle, the cloaking fabric shimmered around them, hiding them from the world above. The engines hummed softly, ready. And in that quiet, hidden moment beneath the palace, two childhood friends, now reunited, prepared to face the unknown together. The hidden shuttle hummed softly beneath the palace, its cloaking field shimmering like liquid silver around its hull. And Elias moved carefully, checking the controls, making sure every system was ready for takeoff. For a brief moment, hope filled the chamber. They had survived the impossible. They had reunited, they had found a secret passage, and the shuttle awaited. But then came a sound that chilled them both, a harsh metallic click echoing through the tunnels. His head snapped toward the entrance. Her eyes widened as a group of heavily armed guards appeared, their armor gleaming even in the dim light. Leading them was Commander's own cousin, known for his cruelty and ambition. His lips curled into a cruel smile. "Princess," said his voice cold and sharp. "Helping a human escape, I must admit I didn't expect this from you." Stepped in front of Elias, her body tense. "Leave, this is between me and him." Laughed, a sound that echoed through the chamber like a predator savoring its prey. "Between you and him? No, little cousin, this is about loyalty, about duty, about the Empress. You are risking everything for a human. Do you even understand the consequences?" Elias felt his stomach tighten. He was unarmed. Even with his courage, he knew that a single strike from these guards could end him, yet he stood firm. "I'm not afraid," he said, his voice shaking slightly but carrying defiance. "If she's with me, then you'll have to get through both of us." His eyes narrowed. How noble, a human protecting a princess, typical of your species, always thinking bravery will save you. He gestured to the guards. "Seize them." His heart pounded. She had planned for many scenarios, but never this. Her own cousin betraying her, cornering them both beneath the palace. Panic threatened to rise, but she forced herself to focus. She looked at Elias, her eyes filled with fear and determination. "Run," she whispered. Elias shook his head. "No, I don't leave you. We face this together." Clenched her fists. She had trained her whole life for diplomacy, strategy, and combat control, but this was different. This was personal. Her friend, the only human who had ever meant anything to her, was in danger, and so was she. Raised his weapon, aiming directly at them. The guards advanced, their steps heavy and menacing. His chest tightened. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, to hide, to save Elias. She placed her hands on the crystal at her neck, a gift from Elias years ago, and felt the familiar warmth surge through her. She had always avoided using her latent psychic powers in public. The risk was too great. But now was different. She drew in a deep breath, focusing on the energy she had always carried but never unleashed. A shimmering force erupted from her fingertips, pushing the guards backward with a wave of energy so strong it slammed them against the walls. The heavy metallic clangs of armor hitting stone echoed loudly. Some guards screamed, others tumbled helplessly, stunned by the sudden power. Stumbled backward, eyes wide in disbelief. But power like this came at a cost. Felt her strength drain with every heartbeat, her vision flickering as the energy she wielded consumed her. She fell to her knees, her hands trembling, sweat dampening her hair. Elias rushed to her side. "You're hurting yourself," he cried. He tried to lift her, but she whispered against his chest, voice weak but determined. "It's okay, I told you. I'll protect you even if it costs me everything." Recovering from the shock, snarled. "You cannot escape me, princess. You will regret defying the Empire." He raised his weapon again. Elias' heart pounded, but he gritted his teeth. He knew he couldn't just wait. He picked up in his arms, feeling the weight of her exhaustion, the frailty of the person he had once known as a small, laughing girl, now grown into a powerful but vulnerable princess. "I won't lose you again," he whispered fiercely. "Not now, not ever." The guards tried to follow, but the chamber had been disrupted, wires sparking, debris scattered. Elias ran toward the shuttle, carrying, ignoring the pain in his arms, ignoring the fear in his heart. Every step brought them closer to freedom, and closer to the next battle they would have to face together. And even as alarms rang and danger pressed from every side, Elias felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Hope that they could survive. Hope that they could finally escape the empire that had kept them apart for so long. And hope that their bond, the friendship that had endured across time and worlds, would carry them through the storm ahead. Elias ran through the chaos of the hidden chamber, carrying in his arms. Her breathing was shallow, and her skin glowed faintly from the psychic energy she had unleashed moments ago. Every step he took was filled with desperation. The shuttle awaited, the last hope for both of them, but the walls around them still trembled with sparks, falling debris, and the shouts of recovering guards. Stirred weakly in his arms, "Elias," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "you shouldn't have risked yourself for me." Elias shook his head, eyes burning with determination. "I promised, remember, when we were kids you saved me from that broken drone, now it's my turn." His chest tightened with emotion as he realized how much he meant what he said. "I'll never let them take you again." Her eyes softened, shimmering with tears she could no longer hold back. You always know the right thing to say. Even now, in the middle of danger, your heart, it doesn't falter." She coughed slightly, trying to regain her strength, but Elias held her closer, supporting her weight. Ahead, the cloaked shuttle waited like a silent guardian. Its hull shimmered faintly, ready to slip through the shadows and lift them out of the palace. But the threat had not passed. Commander and the remaining guards were regaining their footing. Their eyes burned with rage and weapons were raised again. Elias glanced at, "I don't know if we can outrun them." Her gaze met his, fierce and unwavering despite exhaustion. "We don't have to outrun them," she said. "We have something they will never understand, something only we share." Elias frowned. "What do you mean?" She took a shaky breath and pressed her hands gently to the crystal on her neck. A soft glow began to spread through the room, pulsing with her heartbeat. "This is my power, the gift you reminded me to embrace as a child, the one I was afraid to use, but for you, Elias, I will do anything." Before he could respond, a wave of psychic energy erupted from. The ground shook beneath them, sparks flew, and guards were thrown back by invisible force. Weapons clattered to the floor. Even, powerful and ruthless, fell to his knees, shielding his eyes against the brilliance. Elias felt the energy wash over him, both terrifying and awe-inspiring. It reminded him of the stories she once told him about her people's abilities, stories he had half believed as a child. And now, seeing her wield it to protect him, he felt a rush of pride and love that went beyond words. But the power drained her. Her body slumped against his chest, sweat dampening her hair. Her breathing was uneven, shallow. Elias held her, whispering, "Don't fight it, you're safe now. I've got you." She smiled weakly, a soft, tired smile that carried all the emotion of their years apart. I told you humans protect those they care about," she murmured. "I can do it too." Elias' heart ached at her bravery. "You don't have to prove anything. I care about you, and I'm not leaving your side." The remaining guards scrambled to rise, weapons shaking in their hands, but Elias and moved with synchronized urgency. He carried her toward the shuttle, and she guided him, whispering directions to avoid debris and dangerous pathways. Every second counted. They reached the shuttle's entry ramp. Elias set her down carefully and activated the controls, his fingers shaking. The engines hummed, then roared to life, the cloak shimmering more brightly to hide them from the palace sensors. Outside, the first patrol ships noticed their departure, but psychic field and the shuttle's stealth allowed them to slip past undetected. As the shuttle lifted, leaving the chaos of the palace behind, collapsed against Elia's shoulder. The weight of exhaustion, power, and emotion pressed down on her, but she was alive. They were alive. Elias held her close, his voice soft. "We made it, we're free." Lifted her head slightly, meeting his gaze. Tears streaked her face, but her eyes were full of relief, love, and unspoken promises. "No, we were always free, Elias. We just had to find each other again." The stars stretched around them as the shuttle slipped into hyperspace, leaving the Empire behind. In the quiet hum of the engines, two friends, more than friends now, sat together, hearts pounding, spirits intertwined, and the weight of the galaxy pressing around them. For the first time in years, neither felt alone. They had faced impossible odds, betrayal, and war. Yet here they were together, and together they knew they could face whatever came next. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and dangerous, but with courage, trust, and the bond they had rebuilt, nothing could break them.